Hi everyone, I'm GREYMOND. I'm an OCD recovery coach with more than 10 years of experience helping people recover from OCD. Prior to that, I had severe OCD myself that I fully recovered from, and as do my clients. So if you wonder, can you fully recover from OCD? Absolutely, yes, you can. Today, I want to talk to you about how to reduce rumination in the fastest amount of time possible. So, step one, you need to track the time. I know I sound very annoying when I repeat this to you guys, but I wouldn't push time tracking this much if I truly didn't see that it was working. It works with absolutely everybody. Tracking the time, but in a way of reducing the time. So a lot of the times people at first will start to fall into just logging. You have to understand that the reason of tracking the time is, again, I like to kind of compare OCD recovery to a diet. Who's going to lose weight? Person A who is just on a diet, or person B who is tracking every calorie? Or if we equate it to OCD recovery, person A who is tracking their rumination, tracking their compulsions if you're doing compulsions, or person B who's just, well, I'm just trying to do a little bit less. Just, willy-nilly, a little bit less. If you are accountable, if you are tracking every single day, and looking back specifically, this is a very important part, not just tracking, but tracking is step one. If you're tracking, you're already there. You've done step one. How you track doesn't matter. You can track it, like I always say, I'm not trying to sell you the app. I'm trying to give you a free idea of the tracking. Don't want to use the app? Use a piece of paper. Have a little notebook where you kind of write all that stuff down. For a lot of people, actually, the old school notebook method works better. I am kind of one of those people where I like to write it down, and because I'm a girl, I like to make it pretty, and that's okay. You do you, however it works for you, but make sure you're tracking daily. And this is very, very important, is when you're tracking, compare it to yesterday's time period to time period. So today's morning to yesterday's morning, today's afternoon to yesterday's afternoon. The reason why this is important is when you have OCD, obviously you know that time of day for most people really matters. Usually, not everybody. Again, everybody's very different, but there's some correlations that can be made that people tend to feel worse in the morning. There's a few biological reasons for that. I went into it with the cortisol rising and the serotonin and all of the natural rhythms. I won't go into it here, but there's a reason why you might be feeling worse in certain time periods. A lot of times people feel worse, for example, on the weekends. More pressure. I have to spend time with the family, I have to enjoy my time, and they have to enjoy it, and there's more pressure during the holidays as well, but that's kind of a separate issue. So if you compare today's morning to yesterday's morning, you get an accurate representation of how did you do in recovery, where you are at in recovery. Because if you compare morning to evening, that's not a fair or equal comparison, right? So, but here, you're tracking every 3 hours, you're comparing to yesterday's and trying to improve from yesterday. So it's very difficult to fail in these specific boundaries, where you wake up in the morning, your first thought is an OCD thought. Your second thought, though, however, is, wait a minute, I am tracking the time. Okay, let me pull it up on my phone, or let me see my book, or whatever it is. What was it yesterday? Okay, it was 40 minutes first time period. I have to do less than 40 minutes. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. So less than 40 minutes it is. And then you stay on it. Now, if you are in a situation where you're just starting out, say you are literally at square one and you're ruminating nonstop, I'm going to do a separate video on it, but I do want to touch on it in this video just in case you don't watch another video and you kind of need this information. If you find that you're basically drowning, and to track the 3 hours, it would be 3 hours out of 3 hours, and you don't know how to fix it, and it feels overwhelming to you to do it this way. I see this a lot in the beginning with clients. If that's your case, try to, in each 3 hours, give yourself a 15-minute time period where during that 15 minutes, you're not allowed to have any rumination. Thoughts will come in, you will choose to disregard. 10 seconds later, another thought will come in, or the same one will come in again, you will again disregard. And like this, you're just keeping going with your day, whatever it is that you're doing, but you're disregarding the thoughts. You're not taking the bait. You're not ruminating. You're not engaging it with them. They're coming in, but you're not engaging. And try to do that 15 minutes for every 3-hour time period. Get to the point where you succeeded 15 minutes, increase to 20, increase to 25, day after day after day as your mind adjusts. And then when you feel you got the handle on it, then track how much you ruminated out of 3 hours. Because by that time, it will be not the entire 3 hours, right? So this is kind of little bit of a tip. I will do a separate video on it probably later on this week, kind of describing the process a little bit more, but that's just a basic breakdown of it. I'm telling you, time tracking and specifically how to speed it up, don't just track the time, look back at yesterday's time period every single day. It is so important. Because if you even do 1 minute better, 5 minutes better, and another thing is don't become obsessive about the time tracking. You can't create a compulsion with it. You can't make it, it should be important, but it shouldn't be OCD important. Do you know what the kind of the difference, right? So you're tracking, you're looking back at yesterday, thoughts will come in, feelings will come in, sensations will come in, images, the whole bit. It's okay. We are disregarding, and I'm allowing myself this time. So say if you're just starting out, I'm allowing myself 10 minutes of no rumination time. And then again, there needs to be a progression. So every time you are gradually, little by little reducing. I promise you, this method really works. And make it work for you. So this is kind of the two options. Do whichever one works better for you. And write it however you want to write it. Because if you are doing it in the way that's most comfortable for you, as long as you're following these two basic principles, again, looking back at the time and continuously reducing, continuously tracking, there's not really a way you can fail. You might go very slow, and it might take you a few days to kind of get to the next lower number of rumination, right? But you will still get there at the pace that you can get there at, and everybody's pace is different. Pace, a lot of the times, depends on a few things. I probably should do another video on that as well. Just going to take a little bit of note here. 1 second. But in short, pace depends on the person's stress level, 1, their age, 2. And this is not to offend anybody, but we have to be realistic about it. An adult who has had tough experience in their life, as we all have. Once we reach a certain age, we've all had difficult experiences. So we can kind of draw on that and say, well, that was difficult, and I've overcome that, or I've dealt with that, so I can do this in the same way. I know what pushing through is. A kid does not know what a pushing through is. Even a young person, a teenager, for example, they don't know what pushing through really is the same way as an adult does. So a lot of the times, the younger the person, the slower, and I've seen so many exceptions to this. So if you are a young person and you're watching this and you're like, oh, this is going to take forever, it won't. It won't for you if you don't go slow with it. It's all about how the speed that you can go at it. And there is no speed that's the wrong speed. You do you. What works for you is fine. You will still get from point A to point B. A month sooner, a month later, you will still get there. But it's because they're not, prepared for that level of pain when a person is that young and dealing with it. And it breaks all of our hearts to even think of, 10-year-olds, 5-year-olds going through OCD, not even understanding life really, and having to deal with that kind of stuff. So it is very, very difficult for them. And in that because of the age, the pace of the recovery is slower. A lot of the times the person is stressed out, and because of they're dealing with so much stress, it's hard for them to focus on the recovery. A lot of the times, also, the person might not be stressed out, but they have a lot of responsibilities in their life. And when they have a lot of responsibilities, they're like, well, Ali, I hear this from clients all the time. They'll say, I have to keep swimming every single day, doing daily life, and I can't be doing exposure work because exposure work is very stressful. So I can only handle a certain amount of exposure work, and that's okay too. So that might slow down the pace. And again, that doesn't mean the person will not recover or something like that. It takes a little bit longer because of the circumstances. Another situation with the pace might be too that the person is in a situation where they're not able to face their OCD as often as needed. So some OCD situations, that, for example, bureau, well, the thoughts are always coming in. So you can disregard the entire day and get a lot of practice. But if, say, for example, you have driving OCD and you don't face your OCD unless you are driving, and you can only do this many exposures, it becomes a little bit more difficult. And again, that slows down the pace. But okay, do more exposures. Do the best you can in the situation. And again, going back to do whatever works for you. Don't listen to anybody that says it has to be only this specific way and no other way. And, if that doesn't work for you, adjust it in the way that works. As long as you keep to these core principles of accountability, because accountability, again, it's not something I'm telling you to do in a way of telling you to do it. And it's like, why would I do that? This completely makes sense because you've done accountability, I'm sure, in other areas of your life where you needed to get something done, you were accountable and you got it done. This is not different. So it's just doing the same thing, buckling down, pushing through. You can do this. I promise you, you can do this because I see people do this every single day. And like I say in my other videos, logically speaking, if a person is dealing with OCD, they say they've gotten themselves into a bad OCD situation, who are they going to go see? They're going to go see probably their family doctor first. Their family doctor will refer them to a specialist. And it's a whole process that takes place. And then they see no progress with the specialist one. Then they see no progress with the specialist two. And then by the time they come to me, they're pretty much always in a very bad state. So I see people pushing through from really bad situations every single day, and they're doing it, and they're heroes for doing it because it's tremendously difficult, but they are tracking, they're accountable. All those people are doing this. You can do it too. I did it. I didn't do the tracking, and that's what I'm saying. I did not do the tracking. It took me so long to do this, and my clients are recovering a million times, not a million times faster, but much, 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 much faster than I was recovering because I was doing the back and forth shuffle. I was like the other group. Today I'm ruminating, tomorrow I'm not. I'm not accountable. I'm not seeing progress, but little by little, somehow, over the years, I found my way out. But now we have this on a system, and it's just so much better. I hope you find this video helpful. Thank you so much for watching. I will be back with another video. If you need more information, everything is on youhaveocd.com. We're adding more studies. We added a forum on there. Actually, the forum is doing fantastic, and we're adding moderators to the forum in the very, very near future as well. So look forward to that. I will see you tomorrow.